So welcome everyone to Sustainable Health Live Chat. And I'm here tonight with Will Schmidt from North Adams, Massachusetts, and the Dragonwell Tea Shop. He's drinking Golden Dragon tea, but the Dragonwell Tea Shop. So I'm gonna start now, and we are recording, so just so everybody knows. And welcome everyone, and I'm going to take myself off here, and we'll let's see, there we go, new spotlight, there we are. Then here's Will. So thank you for being here tonight, Will. And we just got started, and I was sharing that I am drinking some golden fire tea, which also you can make into a really nice golden milk tea, although I'm just drinking it plain without milk or cream. And then Will is telling us about his tea. And then I want to hear a little bit more about the iron pots, because I've always wondered about the iron pots.
Oh, yes. Well, these cast iron pots, I think the style is called Tetsubin. So if you did a search for a Tetsubin, I'm saying it phonetically, Tetsubin.
Okay.
Pot, you would see a bunch of these up there, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Mm-hmm. And it's a really nice style because cast iron, as you know, it retains heat very well. And so you can warm up the pot, and then it'll keep the tea warm for quite a while. You can also put it over a tea light if you wanted to.
Right. But yeah, I guess that's why they call them tea lights, because they keep the teapots warm.
They really do. And if I don't want to make anybody dizzy, but I'm going to spin you around the tea shop to where I have a couple tables set. And where you see a little glowing light, I do have these little tea light holders. And then I serve in glass carafes so that the light and the color of the tea, it glows, in front of the people who get to drink it. So it's
that's excellent. So as soon as we can, I'm going to go up to North Adams and try out your tea shop.
Can I say something? You said sure. Northampton, which is hilarious, because if you don't mind me sharing how I got to North Adams, I thought I was coming to Northampton. I literally did. I was booking a music tour in the fall of 2019. And I used to live in Vermont and have friends up here. So I spent a month up here and a month down south where I used to live. And I was listening to NPR, and one of my favorite bands had a new album, and they were touring the United States. And so I looked up their schedule, and they were playing a festival called Fresh Grass in Northampton, I read. I was like, I've heard of Northampton. They've got music labels there. They've got a Dobra tea shop. Awesome. And then I printed it off, and sure enough, it was North Adams.
Oh.
And so I came to North Adams and realized that I've actually been here a few times in the past. Both working as a wilderness counselor in Vermont and then as a thru hiker on the Appalachian Trail. So
does the trail go through North Adams?
Yeah, the tea shop is exactly 2 miles east of the trail.
Oh, that's
2.1
nice.
miles, yeah.
That's a bit of a hike, but I guess if you're on the Appalachian Trail, 2 miles doesn't seem quite so daunting as it would if you were.
It's true. And people, at this point on the trail, people, well, maybe not during COVID, but during common times, people are hitchhiking all up and down this road.
Oh, yeah. So to get to the next stop, yeah. I did a 100-mile hike through Wales once. We took like 10 days. So we just did about 10 miles a day. It wasn't, and we had a guy who picked us up, who was sponsoring, he was the one that organized the tour, and he would pick us up for lunch and take us to a pub and then take us back to the trail, which was fun.
Oh my gosh, that's the best way to go right there.
It was very cushy. Yeah, they took all of our luggage and everything, and it was very nice.
Oh, that
And
sounds great.
so you could eat all that English food and really not gain any weight because the 10 miles a day was
Yep, you're burning a lot of
enough.
calories that
You
way.
burn a fair
Was the
amount.
beer, was the beer cold or warm?
It was pretty cold. I mean, I don't remember, to be
Oh.
honest, but it was pretty cold. But what we learned was that you don't drink beer when you're hiking because the afternoon hike goes very, very slowly. And what we learned to drink was something called shandies instead. And a shandy is half of lemon, like a lemon lime soda, but their lemon lime soda in England isn't as sweet as ours. Like we tried to mix like lemon lime soda with beer half and half, but it's terrible here because there's so much sugar in the soda. But there you mix it. And this is what we learned from him is because he would have a shandy half and half, they'd mix it up. And so very quickly, within a few days, we learned to drink shandy in the at the noon break because otherwise the hiking in the afternoon was not nearly as much fun as it was once we started drinking shandies. So instead, but yeah. So so the other thing, I was going back to the iron pot. So the other thing that's interesting to me about iron pots, of course, is that when we talk about 5-element theory, which is part of what the basis of sustainable health is looking at the harmonies between natural elements. And we had talked about earlier about that metal and wood have a cooperative relationship, which probably is at its best in something like the iron pot mixing the tea. Iron keeps the tea warm, keeps the essence warm. And the warmth comes from the fire, which wood and fire have a nurturing relationship. Wood is the mother of fire. And the other relationship in a ceramic pot would be the plants with earth. And my brother over here, it says K-Man, but the man that she's pointing to in the picture who's got his head crooked, that's my brother, the potter. His name is Harold, and Marcia calls him Harry Potter. So, but he makes beautiful teapots. And there's a teacup. Yeah. So that's also a cooperative relationship. Yeah. If you want teapots and tea stuff, you guys ought to get together because
Yeah, that's definitely on the wish
he
list.
makes, there's one of his teapots.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
There
Just
we
to make
go.
a lid for something like that, I think would be a matter of many years of learning. That's
He's
beautiful.
been doing this since high school. So yeah, he's got the time in. Anyhow, the earth relationship. So wood as a cooperative relationship with earth because roots hold earth in place. And so that's a cooperative relationship too. So I think that's just sort of interesting. And Will and I were talking before everybody came on about kind of the spiritual properties. I was going to say the magical properties, but spirit and magic to me are synonymous. So the spiritual properties of the teas. And the one question I didn't get to beforehand is how did you get started with tea?
It's a good question. I remember the first time I really enjoyed tea. I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and some family friends opened a Chinese restaurant at the country club in town, in our little rural Iowa town. We weren't country club members, but we were family friends, and they let everybody come to the restaurant. So I remember how it smelled, how it felt, the seats, and I was just a little boy. But we were looking at the menu, and they offered us tea and little stainless steel teapots with a bag of jasmine
Right.
tea in each one. And it was just the most wonderful thing. And so that kind of piqued my curiosity. My parents often tried to my dad is a physician's assistant, and so often trying to stay ahead of the curve as far as health trends go. And so we had a lot of celestial seasonings in our cupboard
Oh,
growing
yeah.
up. And then my folks introduced me to loose leaf tea after I graduated college. And they went to Gong Fu Tea, the local tea shop in Des Moines, and they picked
Wow.
out teas for each of their kids. And they picked a tea out for me, and they described me, and then they just described the tea back to them. And they said, well, I might not like it, but he can always come in and exchange it for something else. And what they gave me was Dragonwell tea.
Oh, Dragonwell tea. Huh?
And so my introduction basically to loose leaf tea was the Dragonwell variety, which is a cultural tradition in a region called Westlake, China, where there is something called the Dragonwell. And it's a specific way that it's prepared and toasted or roasted. And it's just a really nice, beautiful vegetable broth is what it is to me. Dragonwell tea just tastes like vegetable broth, and you can brew it
Huh.
time and time and time again. It was one of the first things I had that I was like, I wouldn't want to insult it with any sweetener or any milk. It was just a full cup that
Mhm.
was just so satisfying and so economical because you could steep those leaves time and time again. And
Yes.
it is a cheap date, let me tell you.
And you sell the Dragonwell, correct?
I do. Now, there are 47 varieties of Dragonwell, or 47
Wow.
different grades.
Wow.
In America, it's hard to come by, but maybe 2. So I got Dragonwell from as many companies as I could, and I picked the one whose Dragonwell I thought was the best. And so I do really enjoy the Dragonwell that I carry. But when things open back up and I go to China, you better
Ooh.
believe that maybe in a few years I could become a place where you can explore Dragonwell teas.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun? Huh? That's great. Well, I have to say that your teas are amazing. And we were talking, so you've been kind of curating the teas. There's a couple, you were saying there's a couple companies that you get them from. The herbal teas in particular, I have found really amazing. The blends are really nice, very flavorful. And if I like Celestial Seasonings, but since I got the first little package, so that my friends Krista and Alicia, who live, they live a few blocks away in North Adams, they got me a little sampler pack, and I haven't had anything but your tea since then. And that was like a couple of months. I just have to say, that's not entirely true. I've had PG tips a couple times since then. But basically when I just, that was my other tea, but mostly I've just had your teas. They are really flavorful, really full, really rich.
Well, thank
So,
you.
kudos to you.
I feel like it's really a testament to the ingredients. And as a fan of Celestial Seasonings tea, we could talk briefly about the difference. It
Okay.
isn't so much that, so Celestial Seasonings, I took a tour of the facility. I've been there. I wanted to get a job. It's so
Wow.
fascinating. And their story, they started hand sewing tea bags. So I
Oh my
started hand
goodness.
filling tea bags and making little tea bags. I mean, I wanted to just follow in their footsteps so much. What they've been able to do is basically micro grind
Huh.
herbs so that you can get the maximum surface area in
Right.
an infusion so that you can have a perfect cup of tea every time.
But you can't have a second.
But yeah, it's not there's diminishing returns because you're really getting all that surface area. So what you're appreciating, or what I imagine part of your appreciation for the teas that I'm able to share, is that especially with your connection to traditional Chinese medicine and herbalism in general, it's the whole chunks of the herbs and the roots. So you're seeing and smelling what typically is just ground up. So there's a visceral experience that's not quite available when something's been pulverized.
Right.
And then also, like, you're going to use more grams of tea per cup, but then you'll also be able to do as many infusions as you want, because
Yes.
you can infuse a cinnamon stick for a lifetime.
Right. I didn't know that, but
Yeah,
now I
boiling.
pay
Or I-
attention to that. Yeah.
that was
Well,
sarcasm, but you know what I mean? Like, it just,
yeah.
you can really get a lot of essence out of
Right.
a bone, as opposed to some, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Right. So in traditional Chinese medicine and in other plant-based medicines as well. But they talk about the essence of what is in the plant, the essence of everything. Everything. The essence is what I would call the soul of whatever it is. And so when you get the soul, that includes the roots and the plants and the flowers. I mean, you get a more complete experience. And the way that it's cared for, the people who handle it, all of that goes into essence and becomes part of the the entire experience of that. And again, like, so I have really noticed that I can get 3 cups oftentimes. Sometimes I don't know if I've gone to 4. I think I've gone to 4. By that 4, it's starting to get a little weak, especially with the herbal blends. But I certainly have been able to get 3 cups out of almost everything I've gotten from you. And
Okay, I'm going to challenge you then.
uh-oh.
I think that's wonderful. And, sometimes I get as many steeps out of something as I can. And sometimes it's one steep, I try not to feel bad because I'm, like, we're appreciating the essence of it either way. But just as a challenge, one of those times that you steeped it 3 times, you're going to throw it away. Put it in the mason jar in water overnight in the fridge and see how it
Oh,
tastes cold brewed over 8 to 12 hours.
okay. That's a
Because
good idea.
the essence, as it transfers differently if you cold brew it as opposed to hot brew it.
Mhm.
So you could immediately cold brew any of the teas. But with iced tea, we like that refreshing sort of lightness to it.
Right.
So
Good idea.
try it after you think you've spent it and
Yeah.
see what effect it has the next day.
Okay.
Maybe it's light and
That sounds
refreshing. Maybe it tastes like water. Maybe it's really good. But I was like, there's one more way you can extend the life.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's good to know. And I'm one of those people that actually kind of enjoyed, even with like Lipton tea, a second cup
Mhm.
of it. But yeah, my wife is retching in the living room. Just at the thought of it. But I was always a double dipper with tea anyway. But these are rich for the second and third cup. And I think I
Yeah.
sent Harold and Kay a Christmas present of your teas.
Oh, wonderful.
They like it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I
And Roberta's
appreciate
been over here having it. Yeah.
I feel like I feel like what I'm getting to be a part of is sort of a new wave of tea tradition in America.
Mhm.
And so, like, my shop started out very small, 250 square feet. Only a month ago, my landlord busted the wall down, and now it's 650 square feet.
Wow.
Put on a back door, a back porch, and they created a threshold and steps.
Mhm.
And so, within another month, I'll have a medium-sized tea house where I once had a tiny
Wow.
tea house. And so, just being able to start small with the seed of the idea, I've been in dream mode so much, which is why I've been kind of speaking to kind of like, oh my gosh, might be like a part of a new trend, is what I'm thinking. Not that
Mhm.
I'm inventing it, but like I think there's probably somebody everywhere that, you know what I mean? Like, how like when music becomes popular, there's a punk rock band in every town, like there
Right.
might well be a budding tea shop budding tea shops all over America. And I'm just one of those people that's called to this, way of service.
Well, you and I shared before people got on, a little bit of your literal journey, because you've hiked the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail, and your idea of how tea shops and community, and how you're using tea to create community. And if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about that, I think that was a fascinating idea.
Sure.
Very exciting.
Well, and I tell you what, Susan, I'm gonna slice it a different way. So if I miss something, you can remind me.
Okay.
But I would say, like, what a tea shop and the trail have in common, or the spirit of the trail, I feel like they have a similar spirit. When you're out on the trail, everybody's your friend, and everybody wants to help you out, and you want to help everybody out. And when you see, it's a constant game of leapfrog with every weird relative you never saw at the family reunion. And you're just in community with really inspiring folks. And it's just this, when it's at its best, it's this like utopia where if someone's in need, everyone gives until the person has more than they need, and then they are on their feet. So whether it was food or socks or clothing or shelter, if somebody got wet, or it's just, it restored my faith in humanity. And when I think about the spirit of a tea shop, it's that I want it to be a place where people go and they know they can receive they can participate in that same level of hospitality.
I like that. That's wonderful. And I think that, and we were talking about how isolated people have become, and to be able to create, you were talking about like an evening, a place where people could come in the evening and hang out.
Yes.
And instead of being isolated or intoxicated, they have a way to be present to each other.
Yes. I mean, so much of life is a matter of showing up. But at times, as a self-partnered individual in perhaps a random town, I've been at a loss as to, where I might go in order to be present for.
Right.
And I've gotten better at being able to go up to and sit at a bar, but rarely does it, unless, I have some great bartenders that I know that really satisfy the intellectual curiosity of their patrons. But mainstream American bar, you're probably not going to receive the level of attention that, might kindle the spark of your heart,
Right.
So what if there's a place you can go in the evening that's open and inviting, and there could be potentially stimulating intellectual discussion or a comfortable corner to read or write. These places do exist, but mostly in urban centers. It's a model that hasn't quite reached rural America yet. Tea shops do well in large cities because our culture hasn't quite wrapped its mind around it being an option yet. So here, being in North Adams, as far as I am concerned, I'm in a rural area. I'm also in an extremely impoverished neighborhood. But there's also a college within a mile and an incredible art museum, world-renowned art institution.
Yeah, beautiful Mass MoCA. Yeah.
Also within a mile, and within 2 miles, the Appalachian Trail in Mount Greylock. And Mount Greylock is, I don't know, a spiritual epicenter, I think, historically over thousands of years. Not so much for white people, but it's been a really important place to the inhabitants of this area for 10,000 years at least, And so I really feel like I'm in sacred land, even though there's a lot of heroin addiction in my neighborhood, and I've seen people deal drugs outside. But if this place can be open in the evenings, even during COVID, there's a light on, you know? So even if it's not open, sometimes it's not a safe place to deal drugs anymore.
Mm.
So North Adams it's all of the above, but
Mhm.
it's just a really beautiful, I just feel so lucky that I was called here, you know?
Mhm.
Or I feel like how I randomly got here. I just feel really lucky that I get to sit and be here and kind of serve the community.
And one of the things that, I think I read it on your website that you kind of, everybody's pivoting. That's one of our new words. But one of the things that so you came to North Adams with the idea of having a social space where people could come. And then you kind of had to shutter down almost right after you opened, correct?
Yeah, I aimed to open March 22nd of last year. I ended up opening on March 26th. But that week I was just watching it. I got my final papers in, I think on March 18th or 19th, and then City Hall closed the next day. And so it was just wait and see. And one of my mentors, I had told people not to order from my website yet because I wasn't ready, but he went ahead and ordered some tea. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get going. So I just operated as a mail order business, and locally I did free delivery. So I delivered, dozens and dozens and dozens of orders of tea just on bicycle, on foot, with my car,
Nice.
and through the mail. It took me about 6 months to figure out how to do mail order effectively, but now I've got a good system,
Oh,
and
that's
I
great.
can, because I was discounting shipping to be competitive. So it was
Right.
kind of a loss leader. And so I didn't want to push it because I'm already running on pretty thin margins.
Yeah.
So, but I really, because of looking at how a friend handled her company and mail orders, I found a way to offer shipping at the cost that I'd been selling it for. So now I'm great for mail order. I could do, I mean, I could, I mean, I'm profitable because of mail order, I'm really
Yeah.
fortunate that it translates so well to, a gift, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what you've done is that you've kind of now been able to open your shop by reservation, kind of. Is that how I understand it?
Yeah,
And
locally, retail was able to reopen at the end of June, early July, at 40% capacity. So this little space, I could have up to 6 people in here at a time. But it's a small space. And I didn't want people to be able to mingle because that's how the disease is spreading.
right.
So for the last 6 months of last year, I was open for limited hours, and I didn't advertise. I just sort of let the music travel and was able to build a steady sort of like, people would find out about me at different times. Like I didn't want to say too much on Facebook or let too many people, I was really quiet because it's hard once you've let the cat out of the bag, it's hard to reel it back in. And I didn't want to create a situation where there's either more demand or a safety concern. So I've worked as a caregiver for the last year. That's how I've been working other jobs to support my passion, and I'm so glad that I get to, because it allows me to prepare for the future and dream about the world I want to help create. And the pandemic is really giving me the time and the force of patience to take as much into consideration as possible once we open back up.
And I want to go back and find out what kind of a caregiver you are, but I also want to let people know that part of what you're doing is you're doing by reservation. And so at 7:45, we're going to have to let Will go because he's getting ready, because he's got somebody coming in who, and then you had somebody earlier today, right? You're a musician. So, and these are pretty, I mean, I know you can't probably tell us the names of them, but you did say a little, you told me a little bit about them, their
Well, I tell
buzz
you what,
about them.
I've been started to troll James Taylor on Facebook because he lives here, but it's not
Oh,
him.
that's right.
But yeah, no, I've the tea shop just draws really interesting people, and so earlier today I had a Grammy award winning musician and later a young gentleman who's just a fantastic composer, and so it's really as a musician myself. I was a punk rocker and now I'm a folk singer, so it's not like I'm a virtuoso of anything except for maybe whistling. Um, I can whistle anything, but yeah, it's just in for example, to be in your company and the company of everyone that you are in community with here. It's just a real honor to serve in a capacity that draws inspired and inspiring people.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And I'm also, before we run out of time completely, I'm gonna ask you to give your information. And I don't know whether you want to put it in the chat or just spell it out, or I can.
Sure. I saw something pop up from Winter Flower, but it
Yes,
looks like
that
it's
was what it was.
a direct message. Did that go to everybody or did that just go to?
It might have gone to me, but what she wanted to have was the contact information for how to
Yes.
order from you.
So are you seeing what I type here?
No.
No. Okay. How
Oh,
would I
she
do that?
is. Winterflower is seeing it, but the rest of us are not.
Oh, here we go. So how do I get, oh wait, I think I can get this. Everyone,
Good.
to everyone.
Okay, there you
I will
go.
share, the website is a portal.
Right. And it's
so
Dragonwell Tea Berkshires.
it's dragonwellteashop.com.
Dragonwellteashop.com. So that's where you can order it.
Yes. And my email is dragonwellberkshires@gmail.
Dragonwell Berkshires at Gmail. And you also have a Instagram that's Dragonwell Berkshires.
You're absolutely right. My Instagram and Facebook. So over this past year, the way I've found my customers has primarily been through Instagram.
Aha.
Instagram is a platform that I feel comfortable with. I'm good with Facebook now, but a year ago I was Facebook phobic still because I didn't know how to engage. Now I really enjoy what I get to do with it. But I chose Instagram because that's where I felt safest. So I've built, I hate to use the word following, but you know what I mean when I say it.
Yeah.
A social media engagement platform primarily through Instagram, where I have an active audience that I engage with and feel supported by. And I don't just push the product, I share my story. And so I share my vulnerability, my struggles, my successes, and try to give shout outs and support other businesses. So it's Instagram for me has been a creative community that I found that it's still sort of an obscure thing depending on age group and interests, because Instagram, I think, is really drew a lot of people that like taking square pictures. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of what it's boiled down to in captions. So
Right.
storytelling, picture storytelling, I guess.
Yeah, it's nice in that way. I mean, Marsha got on with Instagram. I'm just learning. But anyhow, so it's dragonwellteashop.com for orders. And it's a very nice site. I think I found it easy to use. And you always
So
seem to have
simple.
you always
It's-
seem to have new teas. So that's pretty
Yes.
cool. I mean, every time I go on, I think, oh, I didn't try that one yet. So
Yeah, it's a real joy. Just the variety is wonderful, but also as our bodies kind of crave different things in different seasons, I think, yeah, I want to take good enough pictures that if your body is calling out for a certain herb or resonance, I want to be able to reflect that as well as I can digitally, in absence of, direct, facial, being in the presence of someone. So.
And the teapots, by the way, I'll put a shout out to my brother here, and the two of you really might want to connect.
It's been on my
He's
heart.
Coriel Clayworks, Coriell. Corey, I'll put it in the chat because
You got it? Okay.
he's got a website too.
Awesome.
Let's see.
Is he in New York as well, or where's he at?
He is in Maine. He is in Brunswick, Maine.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah.
I was going to ask do you think, what time is it? 7? We have like 6 minutes. If we stretched it
Yeah.
to 10, that's probably okay. I wanted to see if anybody had any questions that I could just run, if anybody had any questions, I would love to be able to answer them or at least try. And I don't know how to field questions on Zoom either. I apologize. So I'm not sure what's going to work best.
Yes.
Okay, wait, I see a hand. Okay, I see a hand on Winter Flower, so I'm gonna go with you first, if that's okay. I'm sorry, I saw a hand. I saw real hands, but I see a digital hand, so I'm going with the digital hand.
Winter Flower, then Marcia, then Kay.
Okay, awesome. Winter Flower, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, here
Yes.
I
She's a-
am. Quickly, how you doing? Thank you for being here. With your teas, with your website, do you explain what the teas are, what's in the tea, how it affects you or something like that? Because I say that because I cannot deal with caffeine.
Mhm.
And, I know some herbs and whatnot contain caffeine.
Definitely, definitely. So I do a surface level treatment. I include the full ingredients lists and a few phrases to describe sort of the vibe of the tea. I haven't yet taken it to the sort of like adaptogenic or naturopathic, homeopathic. Maybe I'm not using the right word, but I'm not at a point of recommending herbs for treatment, so to speak. So it's not that level of detail. But what I've tried to do with the naming of the teas is to embody the essence of what I understand the tea to be. So if you see a name that resonates and then you can click on the ingredients, I try to provide enough direction that you can connect with what you want, if that makes sense.
So do you
Thank you.
name the teas or do you buy them already named?
Oh, it's so much fun coming up with a name for something. I've kept a couple of original names, but no, I've renamed all these teas. So wait,
that's
Golden
great.
Fire is Golden Fire. But I'll tell you, I have a tea that I just adore, and it's called A Cup of Sunshine. And my supplier, Jasmine Pearl, they think that tea is called Ruby Nectar. But I tell you, when I got a sample of Ruby Nectar, I thought, I'm not a Ruby Nectar guy. That's not my thing. But when I drank it and shared it with my friend who owns another business, we were like, oh, this is a cup of sunshine. So yeah, it's just a fun way to be creative or subversive, or you know what I mean? So I know.
Great. I love that.
Oh, I wanted to touch on the caffeine real quick because I wanted to express what I know about that. Herbal tea is sort of a false description because the actual tea plant is one specific tea plant. The actual tea plant, so if you're drinking a green or black tea, the tea plant has caffeine much as the coffee tree does, or whatever coffee is. So beans. So it's going to be herbal teas will not have caffeine, generally speaking. There are a few herbs that contain caffeine and caffeine-like substances. They should be well marked. And the primary example, or the only example I can really think of that right now, is something called yerba mate that grows in the rainforest. And I do carry some of it. I think I have some on the site. Yerba mate is a stimulating drink. Shouldn't give you the jittery of a coffee buzz, but it will jack you up. I think everything else I have doesn't have yerba mate or anything caffeinated in it if it's marked as an herbal tea. And I'll try to offer more concise answers. I really like talking and I apologize, but I'll offer concise descriptions for everybody else, and then I'll get out of here. And I appreciate your time so much. Thanks for including me tonight.
So Marcia, you're on next.
You're going to have to mute, Susan. I just want to say I'm a coffee drinker, and I don't usually like tea, but Susan has turned me on to some of your teas. But now you just mentioned that yerba mate. That sounds like something I might want to try. But
It's
your teas are really different. So just shout out to you, you know.
Thank you. Have you tried the Ridge Runner? The Ridge Runner actually has coffee beans in it.
Really?
Yeah, it's sort
Ooh.
of a trend. It has coffee beans and black tea and carob and chicory and maybe something else. But yeah,
Oh,
so if you're a
that'll
coffee
be in
lover,
Susan's next order for sure. Thank
it's
you.
really great. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Kay, I think you're next.
Thank you. I had a question because I seem to have missed the description of what Dragon's Well tea is, and I know it's your brand name.
Sure.
Like it, and there's 47 of them, whatever. Is it a kind of black tea that's popular in China, or like?
I don't think I even said if it was a green or black tea. It is a green tea from a specific location in China, and it's sort of the cultural tradition of this area around a lake, West Lake. And there is a place there called the Dragonwell. My brain is a little fuzzy tonight on the specific reason it's called that, but it might be something folkloric. But there is an actual location there called the Dragonwell. Yeah, from what I understand.
And you do have to write Dragonwell Tea Shop, because if you write Dragonwell, you do get it connected to all these other teas. And then, and
Oh, wow.
Jill's got a question.
Well, I just want to say, well, thank you so much for this. I immediately went to your website before Susan's presentation a few days ago, and I'm actually very excited. And just like Marcia, I'm a coffee fanatic, but you'll be hearing from me. I want to get some of that Dragonwell tea and the Ridge Runner, and you've actually gotten me excited about teas. So thank you. Real quick question about steeping. Do you have instructions for steeping on each of the teas?
I do. So my teas, my packaging is very simple. I have different sized craft whatevers. And so I'll have the name of the tea, whether it's green, black, or herbal, a description or complete ingredient list.
Mhm.
And then, yes, sorry, I should have just answered your question. Yes,
That's fine.
I include a recommended brewing time frame
Okay.
and temperature.
Okay. Sounds
What I
good.
don't tell you is how much to put in there. So, because there's different rules of thumb, and I'm trying to sell as much tea as possible, so I say throw a bunch in there, but you really can use, I mean, the rule of thumb is a teaspoon of tea per 6 to 8 ounces.
Okay.
I usually throw a couple in, but I also drink big cups, you know, it's like a 12-ounce cup, you know, so of course I'm going to throw a couple teaspoons in.
Thank you. I don't want to hold you up. Thank you so much.
And also, I'll put something in, I'll put a little, like more than a teaspoon in the morning, and I have a teacup like this and then I just keep brewing it, sometimes, 3 or 4 times before I put it in the refrigerator now to see that it does as a nice tea.
Yeah, no, it is so nice because even with, I like to make a morning cappuccino for myself, but my intervals between cappuccinos, it's sort of a laborious process. But yeah, with a nice hunk of tea, you're just adding some more hot water to it. So you can just keep working and rocking and rolling. And maybe interchange a cup of water for a cup of tea. I don't do that myself, but I think I should, because you want to stay hydrated. But anyway, it's a good thing, I think.
All right, well, we know you need to get ready for your guest, and thank you so much, Will, for being with us and sharing your love of tea and enhancing our understanding of wood energy and plants and the spirit of the plant. So thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening as well. And thanks. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was